Okay, so I have some exciting news to share. On November 14, an amateur astronomer, Mark Holbrook, discovered a near-Earth object using the Tycho software. And so I thought it would be nice to take a moment and go over some of the details behind this discovery. So the Minor Planet Center has designated this object as 2020 VU6. So what that means is that you can now go online to the Minor Planet Center website and learn even more details about this object if you wanted to. And this is the third near-Earth object to be discovered by station W16. W16 is the designation of the observatory owned by Mark Holbrook. And again, it was discovered on November 14 and initially thought to be even larger at 1 kilometer in diameter. But additional observations from recovery images have revised this to around 860 meters, which is still quite substantial. And I'll show that in more detail later when we look at discovery statistics. So this is now the fifth near-Earth object to be discovered this year using the Tycho software. Okay, so these are the images that were captured by station W16. As you can see in the red crosshairs, the object is quite faint, but when you stack the images together, you can start to improve the signal-to-noise ratio, and that allows you to see the object more clearly. So that's essentially how the software is able to detect these really faint objects, is that it explores thousands of different trial vectors. In other words, it stacks the images in thousands of different combinations, allowing it to track objects of different speeds and direction. And as you might imagine, that's a fairly computationally intensive process, but thankfully graphics processing hardware has come a long way over the past few years, and that essentially has enabled this synthetic tracking process to become a viable detection technique. So I just think this is really cool. This is an amateur class telescope, 14 inches in diameter, 0.36 meters, and even so, it's still able to detect this really faint object. It was beyond the orbit of Mars at the time of discovery. So I mentioned earlier discovery statistics. So here's a graph showing near-Earth asteroids discovered over the years. And what they've done is they've broken it down by size. So as you can see, 1 kilometer and larger is red, 140 meters and larger is orange. And so 860 meters is approaching that threshold. And as you can see here, the graph, it's almost just a flat line. So it's very rare indeed to discover one of this size. And keep in mind also that this graph encompasses all discoveries by all surveys. So as an amateur astronomer, to encounter and discover one of this size, it is indeed quite remarkable. Okay, so this is a top-down view of the orbit of the asteroid. So as you can see, I have plugged in November 14, and that allows us to see the position of the object as it would have been at the time of discovery. So this is Earth, this is Mars, and as you can see, it is a fairly eccentric orbit, and it also makes a close approach to the orbit of Mercury. So again, at the time of discovery, the object was well beyond the orbit of Mars. So I also reached out to Mark to see if he had any photos of his observatory and also to get an idea of what the setup looks like. So here's a photo of the observatory. As you can see, it is essentially a roll-off roof design. And he also has a couple of computers set up to run the synthetic tracking software. So this is one of those machines, and it has a couple of GPU cards installed. And then with the case removed, you can see the fans for the cooling system. And he actually operates a pair of telescopes on one mount. And you can see that better in this photo. So it's a pretty clever design, and it appears to work quite well. So anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.